So here we are, the one and only Inner Alchemy podcast, where essentially we talk about the internal world and how to, first of all, understand the power of it, and then on another level, understand how to utilize it so that you can mix the good, the bad, everything into a situation where your life becomes very golden, essentially. Golden meaning strong, powerful, valuable, glowing, uh, unbreakable. And as we know, gold only comes from pressure. You know, crystals like these crystals I have over here, like this one right here. So, it came from massive amounts of pressure. But look at how strong this is. Now, the internal world is like, it's more like water, it's more like liquid. So the question is, how do you take something liquid and so movable, so we could say chaotic, so flowy? How do you make that solid? And not solid like ice, because that's what people try to do. They try to freeze their heart, freeze their emotions. They try to be ice cold. But what we got to realize is, by you could try to be ice cold all you want, but when you're ice cold, at some point that's going to melt, either through anger, either through being upset, either through being happy, motivated, passionate. People who try to be cold, who try to be icy with their water, with their emotion, um, they always end up having a little breaking point. You become so ice cold, you are afraid of the heat, you're afraid of the fun, you're afraid of the sunlight. So that's not where we're moving toward in this. Not icy heart, not trying to be ice cold, more so taking the water and bringing it together. And then imagine that, let's say this water was underneath the ground, deep underneath the soil. And over time, there's so much pressure underneath the ground, that it compresses all of this energy, all of this heat, water, molecules, rocks. And with enough pressure, with enough time, it solidifies. So it's kind of a different mentality when you think about it, because when you look at it this way, it's like you take the dirt, you take the bullshit underneath the ground, you take the water, you take the sun, you take all the dirty aspects, the underground aspects. Underground, by the way, being linked to the subconscious mind, but the underground aspects. And with enough pressure, you have a situation where if you don't burst, you're able to have a solidified value, valuable aspect of knowledge and information in your mind. You know, and that's what we would call gems, like gems of knowledge. So when you're talking to someone that's extremely intelligent, someone that's extremely insightful, the aspect of them that we move toward is the aspect of that person being able to handle pressure, that person being through pressure, and those situations allow him to be more enlightened. Because if there is no pressure, then everything kind of moves perfectly. The question is, when things do get disrupted, now what are you able to do? That's the testament of power. So we're all in this world together. We all know what's going on. Everybody's going through different shit. But I brought up earlier the underground, the unconscious mind, subconscious mind. And I wanted to go deeper into that, because in this episode, I want you to understand that when we talk about these gems and all of this stuff, if we look at everything on Earth, if we look at everything in nature, trees, plants, food, fruits, animals, when we look at life and how it grows, everything always goes through an incubation period. Everything always begins under the soil, in the mud, in the dirt. That's where the alchemy begins. I want you to even think about a baby. It can go from having a child. When the baby is in the mother's stomach, there's an alchemy taking place. There's this swirl going on. right? It's this creation period. And during that period, it's down there in the muck, we could say. Same thing if you plant a seed, or if we look at any trees, their roots go down so deep, but the roots go down deep where the worms are, where the dirt is, where it is underneath the ground, right? And we can look at the seed as the crystal, or the thing that is going to bring to life the creation. So underneath the dirt in the ground is where the power really lies. That's what we miss. So when I bring up the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind, the area of the mind where everybody doesn't see that. That's like the dark. That's like down there for you. That's where you keep your ideas, your secrets, all of those things. What you got to realize is each idea that you carry is, if your attention is going on it, that's your light. That's your sunshine shining on the idea. And the more you pay attention to it, the more that idea grows, right? Like a root. But when we think about that, that's a big fucking deal. Because as we talked about, underneath the ground, with the pressure and the alchemy and everything that takes place, this is where the power is, right? The idea that what's underneath the ground is going to come to the soil, is going to be planted. So when you're carrying an idea, see, here's what I want to begin with. And this is worth writing down. This one I could. It's like, all right, here's what I want to say. We take our words too lightly. I want you to write it down. You take your words too lightly. You take it way too lightly. Like you don't really realize what's going on. Like people just talking. Oh, the wizard. You seen this game? Oh, you seen this? Oh, you seen this show? Oh my gosh, blah blah blah. People are just talking. It's so bad we even have an idea called small talk. We actually have something called small talk. And small talk essentially, long story short, is wasteful communication, like useless communication, meaning I'm saying stuff that is repetitive. I'm not really thinking. It's banter. It's like blah 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 blah. It's just this bullshit, right? So what we got to understand is when you look at the lifestyle of the people around you, when you look at a lot of people being in the same kind of positions, when you look at a lot of people going through a lot of things that aren't the best, we got to first begin and understand, like, what is this person talking about? Because what I want to show throughout this episode, or throughout this talk, throughout this live, is that the things that we're thinking in our subconscious mind, it's more than just, oh, I imagine this and I want to do this. That's the cool part. That's like, that's whatever. The real shit that's going on, like your real life, is due to the little thoughts that go on in your mind all the time. You don't realize the awareness. You don't realize that you're creating, because whatever's going on the unconscious level is what's reflected outside. The conscious mind, its job is really to pay attention to what the conscious mind has already brought and to deal with that. So it's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it. So essentially, the unconscious mind, right? It's basically the life that you have externally right now is a reflection of what's planted in your subconscious mind. Not that you pay attention to, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, or I want to watch it. No, it's more so the little unconscious beliefs you have, like the things that you get anxiety about, the things that you're like, oh, I gotta go to work, like the shit that's grounded in your mind, that's already in the flow of your life. Where people might have kids, I'm talking about survival. So when we wonder why people are so antsy and all about survival, the first thing we got to realize is survival things, like how do I got to eat today? Where am I going to live? These things are so important. They've already planted in your mind, like they're already going on. So you wonder why you got a job, and you wonder why you're doing these things. And it seems like you need to do it. It seems like you have to do it. The reason why it seems like you have to do these things to survive is because that's what you have been doing to survive. So you can imagine that's already a big old tree in your forest already. And then you think I'm going to watch 2 videos and have the motivation to all of a sudden, oh, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm a blah, 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 and I'm going to go after my dreams. This applies 100% with the law of rhythm. And what people got to realize is you know, if you want to create a new experience in your situation, if you want to change a pattern in your life, you got to understand that's going to be the hardest thing of all time to do. People take it way too, like, to change one little thing in your life. Like, let's say you were like, I'm going to jog once a week. Do you understand, like, how big of a deal that is, what you just did? So you see what it do, Do you understand how big of a deal that is, what you did? The ability to change anything. So the reason why it's so hard is because you have two opposing forces going on. Okay. This goes into law of gender, like male, female energy. This goes into polarity. Two opposing energies, right, are battling each other. That's what's happening. So if I want to push a new idea into the spirit, right? Okay, I want to do this change in my life. We're basically saying we want to create a new cycle, a new rhythm, new, essentially a new rhythm. So we're trying to build this new rhythm, but we got to realize there's an opposing rhythm that's already in existence that we've been creating with our everyday life already. And most of the time, it's almost like if a plane tried to take off outside of the Earth's gravitational pull, by the time it gets like almost out of the atmosphere, it's going to burn to crisp, because at that point, these two forces it's trying to go past the force so much, it creates so much heat that the plane evaporates. That right there is what happens to everyone's idea when they want to really change some shit. You got it, you created the idea. That's like building the plane. You got the mathematics together. You're like, okay, if I do X, Y, Z, that's cool. Then it takes off. So you're telling people about it. This is my thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's going for a little minute. You put out your first post. You let you let your immediate people know. You throw your first event, whatever it is, right? You drop your first song, whatever. And then, okay, that was cool. You do a little bit more. Next thing you know, you're so caught up into the reverse cycles. I got to go to work now. I got to do this now. Got to do this now. That's that other energy. And it becomes bigger and bigger. Oh, wait, I got to pay for this. I'm going through this. Next thing you know, the idea is just like the plane. It got wiped out. So when we want to create a rhythm, we want to create a new rhythm, I'm going to show you some things that are going to allow you to really beat this force. Because what you have to do essentially to beat the opposing force of essentially the negative, the shit that essentially is blocking you from getting to where you want to be. It could be anything. It's really always yourself. It's really your unconscious stuff, like the job you got, or I don't have the time, or I got to pay for this. That's the opposing shit. That's the survival. We'll call all that shit survival. Survival is getting out of the way of the dream, right? Because if it was up to us, we just do whatever we dream to do. We just be outside playing the flute, doing whatever the hell people do. But what happens is, oh damn, I gotta eat. What the fuck am I gonna pay for? Oh shit, I gotta go to this shit and pay for this shit. Oh shit, I gotta pay for this shit. Oh shit, I gotta do this shit. So the question is, how do we break through that? And so what we gotta understand first and foremost is it's our unconscious mind, it's our subconscious mind that holds other ideas such as work, survival, this, that, all the things that you gotta do, quote unquote, that you have to do. All of those things essentially have become a big ass tree, a big ass part of your garden. And it's almost like the ideas that you really care about are like a few plants. You got a little cute little plant area here. But when it comes to your survival shit, it's a big ass forest, and it's huge. It's like, man, the balance is completely off. So when people talk about I'm trying to do this and that, it's like a joke. It's like a joke, because if you really know what you're battling against, I'm gonna let you know right now, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Now let's spin this in a different way as well. Let's put this in another way. This is fun. Let's do an angle shift to this idea about the subconscious mind and the big ideas we hold. So now, what happens when we're talking to people and communicating with people and trying to sell our ideas, or trying to, essentially, it could even be family, friends, whatever. What about the people who you think little things about them that you don't fuck with? Or you might be at work and you might be like, I fucking hate this job. But you go to work, oh, Cindy, what's going on? Oh, hey, do you need help, sir? Right? That whole act that we have to do. Now, on the last episode, I talked about how the reason why people have anxiety in the first place and things like depression and these things is because internally there's a split self. Like essentially, they hold different ideas, different aspects of themselves that are always competing. So an example is, I go to church. Oh yeah, I love God on the blah blah blah, and then on Tuesday, they over here robbing somebody, or the girl on Tuesday might be over here doing X Y Z. The idea is, or you might be somebody that really loves to do one thing. Yeah, this is my passion. But then you might have to show up to work and present this other thing. So we're holding on to smaller ideas of ourselves, right? While at the same time, right, and these ideas that are small that we hold for ourselves are connected to survival. So, hey, I'm Joe that works at the car lot. When you really want to be a and or spread your truth, or that's really the idea you're holding, but you have to contain all of this. You have to compress this energy. Or it can be anything. The idea is when you hold two opposing ideas, right? That is what is called confusion, which is essentially like a con has fused with your idea. And essentially these split ideas have us not on one accord, not being one self. So our power is limited. It's being stretched. It's being pulled apart. So to take it back to what I was saying, when we talk about people and you hold an idea in your mind, like, all right, man, I don't feel like going to work, but you go to work. Oh, what's going on, Cindy? You think that you're doing a good job. You're like, okay, that's what everybody does. I don't feel like being at work, but when I'm at work, I do what I got to do. Right. Well, here's what's going on unconsciously. Whether you know it or not, your unconscious mind is communicating with people all day, every day. You see, you're communicating to people and with people consciously. So you're like, okay, hey, how's the kids? Oh man, I heard this. Oh bro, I like that shirt. Whatever you might say. Or, oh hey Cindy, yeah, my wife is great. Even though in your unconscious mind, you think Cindy's super attractive, and if you could, you would freaking get with Cindy ASAP, right? But you have a wife and kids, whatever, right? So, but subconsciously, you're like, damn, Cindy's sexy as anything, right? Well, regardless of what you try to tell her conscious, oh yeah, the kids are great, Cindy. How's your husband? There's a unconscious communication going on. Your unconscious mind, whether you see it or not, is showing the way your eyes are looking, the way your body's communicating. So even in the things in life that we don't know what's going on, or we think people don't know what's going on, that subconscious belief, like I said, is like a tree in the garden, and it's going to be seen. So I say all that to say we got to take our thoughts and our ideas a little bit more serious. Not in a way where we're serious, like I'm at a church sermon. I'm not talking about serious like that. That'll just drive you crazy, because life is very playful. That's very important to understand. I mean serious, like if you were a magician and you had an opportunity to create your life with your words. Like if I was to say, all right, Maserati, come pick me up outside right now. Okay, Maserati's outside. You ready to go? And then we're going to take a plane to Italy to just get some food at this place we're going to go to. You trying to do that, right? Awesome, let's go. Now that sounds absurd, right? To people, they're like, okay, but that's what's going on. Like what I just said is exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on right now. The only reason why it's not happening as fast or as quick is because things take a little bit more time here. It's a rhythm. But instead of looking at it like, okay, I got to do all of this shit, I want you to realize, if I could say right now, okay, Maserati, pick me up outside, take me to a plane. My jet plane is going to be outside. We're going to then go to Italy. Once you get to Italy, we're going to buy a bunch of clothes, right? Everything I'm saying, you could be like, that's your imagination. That's fake. But what you got to understand, if we just pause right now, understand that when you plant that idea, or when you begin to look at, that's what's going on. That's what everyone's doing. From the person that that drives a garbage truck to the person that is making $1 billion. They're all doing this. They're speaking their reality into existence. The only problem is, for the ones that are getting that Maserati outside, driving them over to their plane, versus the one who is wishing that he can get a lottery, scratch a lottery and win $1 million. And, the only difference is there's a rhythm. There's a law of rhythm that one man's respecting, a woman, and that one man and woman isn't respected. You see, there is a cycle of things that they're doing while they're speaking these things that are bringing these things to existence. And for the other person, the words that they're speaking is creating a rhythm for them, right? So when we understand that, we got to understand that planting the idea is just the first. That's the biggest aspect. That's where the magic is. I want you to write something down right here. I want you to write down the magic exists in the unconscious, in the subconscious. The magic exists in the subconscious. That's where the whole game, that's where the whole magical everything exists. I'm talking about from everything we watch on television, everything we listen to through music, everything that we see, that we admire, that we dream, it all exists in that spot. Everything that we want to create as the magician exists. You see, my boy Jay, we was watching the Matrix clip, and it was a clip where you might have seen this. This is the famous clip from the Matrix. It was a clip where the little boy, it was this boy who looked like a monk, and he had a spoon. And then Neo, he was like looking at Neo, and he was like, the little boy bent the spoon. The spoon like bent backwards and came back. And Neo looked at it, and he was like, "What?" And the kid told him something, gave him the spoon. Neo looked. Then he was able to bend the spoon, but then all of a sudden he woke up. It was almost like a dream, and the spoon was normal. And essentially what the boy said was, it's not the spoon that bends, it's you that bend, that makes the spoon bend. And essentially what that means to me is he didn't bend the spoon externally. Boom, best movie ever. It really is. The Matrix is the best movie of all time. I'm sorry, it just is. But, when the spoon bent, it bent in his mind. Like right now, we could all bend the spoon right now in our mind. And just like I said in the beginning, people take that way too lightly. The fact that you can bend the spoon in your mind right now. Like, I want you to imagine it. I want y'all to imagine it. When you see, imagine bending a spoon in your mind. You imagine it? That's a big fucking idea right there. And why is that a big idea? Because if you really want to bend a spoon in real life with your mind, right? I'm gonna give you the secret right now. You imagine that every day, you think on ideas on that every day, right? You build that rhythm every day of I'm bending the spoon, I'm bending the spoon, I'm bending the spoon. And right now, you're already moving towards bending the spoon. Nobody's bending spoons with their mind in this reality because people aren't thinking about bending spoons in this reality consistently and long enough to do it. Because after about 4 months of thinking that, they moving on to some other shit. So when it comes to being a magician, when it comes to being a creator, a major aspect is holding the idea in the mind and giving it enough force, enough rhythm, or enough momentum through repetition, through reading, through learning everything about it, to the point that it creates so much force, it can move past the opposing force that's trying to keep it from being alive. Now, here's something I want you to think about big time as I use this example. And the thing I want you to think about big time is the understanding that if you want to change an idea or change a rhythm or change a condition in your life, you don't do it by creating an opposing idea. So if I want to begin making music, I don't do it by saying, okay, I got to try to blah. Like where you're doing it through force. I have to create a situation. I got to go here and talk to them. I got to go talk to them. I got to go do this. Or if you want to create a condition in your life, or if you want to change a condition in your life, it's not necessarily first and foremost all about action, even though that's extremely important. What it's really about is creating a new rhythm, a new frequency. So the person who wants to beat cancer, let's say you want to cure cancer. That's a big idea, by the way. That's a big thing to go after, which I believe is good. I believe any idea we have should be a big fucking idea. Because that's going to make you go outside. It's going to make you become bigger. So, you'll have more answers. You'll have more things pour in to solve that bigger shit. Because that's what you're moving toward. But anyways, in order to change a condition, that you're not going against the condition. That's where we fuck up. So we say, let's fight drugs if we want to beat drugs. Let's beat cancer. Like, that's the wrong mentality, because whatever you resist persists. You know what I mean? Let's fight racism. Let's fight uh whatever, molestation, anything that's bad. We're trying to fight it. And there's a time and place, right? But you can win a battle and lose a war. And what I mean by that is, yeah, you might stop in a few isolated areas. You might fight and win and beat whatever it is, but it will just grow and magnify on a bigger scale. So for as much negative things that we stop, it just grows. Just like the drug movement. We've seen it with 80s, 90s. The more they tried to stop drugs, the more drugs spread out, the more it became bigger. It was that resistance. Best believe it wasn't crime that has stopped crime. People stopped doing drugs just because they saw it was stupid. Like, they just saw over time that it wasn't really worth it. But it wasn't because people were fighting drugs. If you saw what happened when the police were fighting drugs the most, that's when they grew the most. The more we've been fighting cancer, things like that, a lot of these diseases grow because we're trying to fight them. So instead, how do you beat something that is bigger than you, that might have more energy, that might have more force, just like your life? How do I change the condition in my life when there's already so much obligations I'm connected to, so much force that's holding me down, so many things that I'm connected to that I have to do? How do I beat this thing, right? Well, the way you beat it isn't by fighting it. The way that you beat it is you do the opposite of it. And you do that all the time. So instead of trying to beat cancer, how about I focus on what is the most healthiest, amazing diet you could possibly have to allow yourself to be healed from anything? And what if you wake up every day beginning to move toward that? Learning every book that's about that, learning everything on your mind that's about healing, that's about health, that's about growth, that's about like a positive diet. That's much different than, I'm going to become obsessed about cancer and learn all of this shit. And next thing you know, everybody you talk to is, if you eat this sausage, blah, 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 if you do this, blah, 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 it becomes more fear-based because you're in the yin, you're in the defense. You're trying to be defensive against the perceived threat. So when you try to be defensive against the perceived threat, you become at the yin of it. You know what I mean? So the way we do it is you become yin in the sense of you yield to whatever it is. But then the way you go yang isn't to go back into the fire. The way you go yang is to go towards the water. You go towards the water. You go towards the new flow. You go towards the new rhythm. And then what happens is, as you begin to go towards the new rhythm, the old rhythm is going to be wanting to get your energy, but instead of you trying to argue with it, it's going to see that you're doing something else, and it's going to wind down just a little bit. It's going to come back and see you still put your energy somewhere else. It's going to die out. Because let me tell you a huge secret, because I'm feeling happy today. The huge secret is that just like the Earth's core, just like the sun's core, we all have a core. We all have, they call it the solar plexus, like in this area. We all have an inner sun that shines right here. You notice in your stomach is one of the hottest parts of the body. Like, we have acid in our stomach that literally burns food, that burns things. It's acidic. It's acid in our stomach that's very hot. And we don't realize that, but in this core area is your sun. And essentially, the way I look at it is, when they talk about the chakras, it's in alignment from like your crown all the way into the solar, into like right here, right? So now I imagine the sun being like right in the middle, almost like some planets, like a gravitation, or like, gravitation like this. And what's happening is, when you put your awareness on something, it's shining the sun on it, which is allowing it to grow as an idea or grow as whatever. So I want you to think of that inner sun, and I want you to let it shine, actually, because when you let it shine, if you imagine it there and you let it shine into your whole body, you're going to feel your vibrancy, first of all, pick up. That's a huge technique, by the way. I call it the shine technique. Take that inner sun and you shine it on yourself. Let it vibrate like out of you. And then you'll begin to feel like the sun. And even when you move around, people will feel that energy. People will gravitate to it. You'll begin to see that people feel that energy. Now, I say all that to say because when we're thinking about our ideas, when we're thinking about things we want to bring in, we want to shine our light on the new rhythm. These other ideas are fighting for that sun that you have, like planets. They're trying to fight for that sun. It wants to get shined on too. But if it's not serving you, if it's growing an idea that's destroying you or that's not allowing you to do what you want to do, don't worry about saying, oh, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna quit this, I'm gonna quit that in order to get this. Instead, just put more and more attention on this. You'll do those things, but you're putting more and more attention. You're building this idea. You're building the new rhythm. Now, there's 3 ways that you program the mind. You do it through repetition. Okay, so that means why you think we remember rap songs so well and music so well is because they're playing it every day on the radio. We hear it all the time. Next thing you know, it almost gets like encoded into our DNA. Certain songs, if I I could put any song on right now. I was thinking of the Lil Wayne. I don't know why. I was thinking, girl, you look her with some yeah, that's day, yeah. But anyways, that song, that song, you can grab it this fast. So repetition is one way. You have to continue to see what it is you're doing. That's a good question. So when it comes to, so the question is, because it goes with what I'm exactly talking about, do you agree with not telling people what you're about to do? And I have a friend, and I know a few guys that are very big on that. They really keep their ideas to themselves, and it allows it to grow. So I believe that it's about power. So I want you to imagine that there's like a moon, and let's say there, and then imagine that there's like the sun that's so big that our sun goes around it. I forgot what it's called, like I don't know, blue dwarf, one of those suns, but basically a massive sun versus a little moon, right? So for that moon, when it's starting off its ideas, depending on its energy level, it might want to keep it to itself, and not really share ideas because the gravity of other people might pull those ideas away, right? But then I want you to think of a very powerful sun, like a very powerful you version of yourself that's in its own vortex and it's going so fast, it's so focused on what it's doing that it just has so much gravitational force. When you're operating at that level where nobody can move your idea, where you're confident in yourself, I would tell you to tell people what you're going to do for 2 reasons. Number one is, right, it's going to make you stronger if you have the ability to push your ideas forth, even with people knowing about it. It puts you at the cause point rather than the effect, rather than trying to be safe, rather than trying to be yin and hold on to. Take it as a challenge. I'm going to be so powerful. I'm going to tell people what I'm going to do, and they're going to see me do it. Because I see a lot of people try to hold their ideas in, and it ends up, I think it doesn't work because they're imploding or trying to hang on to their energy. In that, for one, makes it more yin, and number 2, you can only gain energy through resistance. So the person that's trying to conserve energy is going to be the person who doesn't have much energy. They might be out of shape. They don't put resistance on their body a lot. Whereas the people who put weights out, who push back against the force of life, that's where you gain power. So I say all that to say, tell people what you're going to do. Because the last thing I was going to say about that is it holds you to an obligation now. Because now you got to show and prove. So I think that's also a good thing is, don't let it fold. If you tell people about it, go for it. And if it changes, who gives a fuck? That's the power of, once again, realizing that, you're more powerful than your external environment. When people shine light on an idea, the funny thing about it actually is their negative and positive energy when it comes to ideas is just energy. Because essentially the idea itself, you notice when people get in a lot of bad quarrels, bad situations, they actually get more publicity. It's the most negative of things that get the most attention. So the smart thing to do is to utilize that energy, because once you are the positive force and the positive cause point of life, when people try to put negativity on your ideas, when the idea comes back to you, it transmutes back into something positive because you are the positive. So it's almost like you become such a powerful positive force that even when negative people try to come against you, you neutralize them. It's crazy. It happens all the time. Like people who might do a lot of real bad stuff, when you get around a certain person that's vibrating on a certain level, you even kind of see the good qualities of that person when they're in the presence of this good person because it's all energy going on. So yeah, I would definitely say tell the world what you're gonna do. Let the world know, you know. Um, but early on, yeah, you have to build the rhythm. So what I'm basically saying is, let's call this the garden of the mind. Okay, and we talk about the garden of the mind. We are planting seeds that we know about, and then other people are planting seeds. When you get an idea of like, why am I thinking of this negativity? It's because somebody walked past your garden and tossed a fucking poison seed in there. So whoop, I'm gonna tell them, yeah, you might want to think about doing something else, blah blah blah, or I don't know, blah blah blah, or you never doing what you're supposed to do. You never come see your family, you never come do this. Any idea, that's them tossing it in there. So when it comes to your mind, the idea is you want to understand that there's a garden in there. And you want to begin to go throughout in the act of meditation. I definitely recommend going into meditation, no doubt. And beginning to identify the ideas and beliefs that are battling, like weeds in a garden, they're battling the strong beliefs that you want to have. And what you want to begin to do is, instead of trying to, rip away those negative seeds, what I want you to do is plant a new seed that is a seed designed to shine so bright, to be such a powerful plant that the weeds can't exist in the garden when that plant is there. So you're going to now plant within your mind the idea that there's no way I can be stopped. Boom. That's an example of doing that. How do I plant a plant in my garden that's so powerful? It actually grows, and then all the weeds just fucking drain out because of this plant. Well, guess what? That's why the imagination is so powerful. I'm going to show you right now how you create that plant in your mind, the plant that destroys all weeds, while you still continue to plant your other seeds of prosperity, growth, power, success, love. Plant those. But then the other beliefs, like survival stuff, like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. What about this? What about that? The anxieties, right? You don't worry about fighting the anxieties. They already got planted. You now plant a seed of a plant that grows and shines, and that's so powerful. It literally sprays out chemicals, pure sunlight chemicals that take out these negative thoughts that destroy them. And how do you do that? Right now, you can write this down if you want to. You plant this ideas just like this. Ready? I am so powerful. Nothing can stop me. And anything that comes against me, any idea that is lesser than, does not exist. I am the most powerful being in my mind, and I have complete control. You say things that are absurd. I am, everything that I desire happens whenever I want it to happen, because this is exactly what I believe. And this is what will manifest for me every day. Okay, you write that down? And then you shine the light on that every day. So you speak that in repetition. Because you said repetition is one of the ways to program the subconscious mind. The second one is symbols. So now let's talk about some symbols. Okay, you want to write down what is the physical things that you see in life that reflect that idea you just said. So if I say I'm a once in a lifetime being that is unstoppable, that nobody that brings out all love and peace and manifests exactly what I want, or that gives me exactly what I want and nobody can stop me, or I have no fear and I never will have fear and my anxiety does not exist in my life. It's nothing, anything. I want you to really become specific. What are the things in your life that you want to overcome on a level where you like mastered it? Because I've seen this shit happen. This is what has been happening in my life. Is ideas that seem challenging they get wiped out, but it's because you have to be deliberate and exact about the seed that you're planting. What is the deliberate thing? I am an unstoppable force that is only makes money. that only has vitality and that only is unafraid and bold all the time. Right? That's the idea you need to have, because that's going to be that plant. And what happens is you shine that idea, right? And you find a symbol that reflects that idea. So for me, that symbol might be exactly what I just said, an unstoppable force, that blah, blah, blah. And for me, it might be a blue glove, like a blue boxing glove, whatever it is. And I place these things in my life. It might be a lion. It might be a wolf. It might be a dragon. It might be a crystal. It might be my mother. It might be my father. It might be my friend. It might be Muhammad Ali, whatever. Begin to plant these things all around your reality, all around yourself. Because these are going to be the things that remind you subconsciously what's going on. It's going to shine the light. You're going to be like, okay. Even when you don't see what's going on, these things are going to be reinforced. Okay. And then here's the third part. The third one is the mind gets programmed through trauma. And so that's why you notice a lot of the things that we can't shake, a lot of things that we remember the most are negative experiences, unfortunately. Well, what if I told you that there's a way that you could actually have good trauma? You could actually program yourself with positive trauma. And let me tell you what that is. The way you program yourself with that positive trauma, so that it sticks in your mind. Even though trauma has a kind of negative connotation, but we're going to take power back from the word. All right. Now we taken the word trauma and we made up a word called positive trauma. All right. And guess what? No, we said the trauma have to be what? No, it doesn't have to be negative. It has a negative connotation. Yeah, trauma is something that I'll tell you the definition as a psychologist and whatnot. Trauma to me, from what I've studied, is it's something that has been impressed in the mind through force or through deliberation. It wasn't something that was expected, or it wasn't something that was planted. Basically, something that. What are you saying? A surprise could be trauma. Like when you get a birthday surprise, you're like, oh shit. It's whatever is triggered in the subconscious mind, essentially unexpectedly, or not deliberately, but it was put in the mind indeliberately, which caused you to have shock. And that shock, right, that shock energy allows that moment to be captured and that feeling to be felt when you capture the moment. And then whenever you get that snapshot picture, it triggers the experience. That's trauma. So, and I could look up Webster. Why not? I do like to be educational. All right, let's look up the word trauma. Deeply distressing or disturbing experience, physical injury, which may be associated with physical shock and sometimes leads to long-term neurosis. So what I'm getting from this is emotional shock following a stressful event or a physical injury. So emotional shock. What is shock? It's heavy electricity. It's really opposing forces going internally. And that moment goes snapshot image, boom. But you can have stress and shock, and it's not always bad. So now, for example, you might find out that you won $1 million. You might find out that you got cured from an illness. And now you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to die. Boom, that was a trauma. That was programmed in the mind. So now how do we have positive trauma? You do it through a ritual. You do it through rituals. That's why people bring up rituals. That's what a ritual is. You say, okay, this would have been a regular Sunday for me. Even me today, I'm going to do a ritual today. Like, this could be a regular Sunday. Okay. Or it can be this Sunday. It's so important because I'm going to plant the seed that for the rest of my life, I'm going to get everything I ever desired from this moment right here. And at 7 o'clock, I'm going to grab something that I really admire, sit in front of it, and really imagine doing X, Y, Z. And I'm going to say these words 3 times. I believe, I believe, I believe. And then meditate for 5 minutes. What I just did was I created a experience and I put emotion into it. And I created in that one moment is going to be a snapshot that's going to change forever for me. The same way you have a traumatic experience that changed everything for you in that moment. Instead of now waiting for that to happen, being at the end of that traumatic experience or that thing that catches you off guard, I want you to be at the yang. I want you to create that. And you do that through ritual. You put your emotion into, why do I care so much about changing this thing in my life? Or what do I really desire? So I want you to do that tonight. What do I really desire today? Like, while everyone else is hanging out on Sunday, how's my Sunday going to be a Sunday where from this point forward, things are never going to be the same? Because that is the magic of life to me, is the fact that tomorrow doesn't have to be what it would have been. Me and my boy have so much vitality because every time we talk, we're talking about what we're going to create in the next day, the effects we're going to create. Don't let tomorrow be just another day where you're doing the repetition. I want you to go into tomorrow ready to create effects, right? And begin to create and have control in your experience of life, like the magician. Like we said, I want you to have the power of the Maserati's picking me up right now. It's taking me to the plane. We're flying out to Italy. With what I'm telling you through repetition, that's exactly where your life's going to end up being. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. So now, the ritual. What is the reason? Put emotion behind that reason of why you're going to change what you're going to change. Feel the pain of not having it. A big part of a ritual is that you have to feel, not like in church, like what you do in the Catholic, just humming and going through the motions. No, this is like you have to feel. You have to create the negativity that you felt for not having it and blend that in with the passion of how much you do want it. And then I want you to put all of that meaning into this moment, into this 7 o'clock. I'm going to look at my symbol, do XYZ. And when I do this, I'm impressing it into the mind. I'm remembering this moment for life. This moment was the moment I'm putting this energy into. On May 19th, Sunday, May 19th. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about, is impressing your own shock experience. So that's what we're talking about. Repetition, symbols, right? And putting in those rituals, that reasoning, that stamp, like this is the day, that anchor of where things change. And once that's done, right? Once you do that today, once you do that ritual tonight, from this point, I want you to focus on the different rhythm. You're now moving towards the water. Remember, instead of trying to fight fire with fire, I want you to walk away from the fire and move toward the water, move toward the new flow, move toward the new rhythm. And then with repetition, you have to be a little bit obsessed. So I'm telling you, if you want to change something in your life, don't waste your time trying to change things that are like, sometimes even like money, things that are like, don't try to change things that that you're not really like super passionate about, that you're just doing for like, ideal reasons or that sound pretty. You gotta want to change something like it has to be connected to your purpose. That's why I say find out what the purpose is, because once you figure out the purpose, nothing can shake it. So you have to figure out the purpose. The thing you really care about, the thing that you're really attracted to. If you take it to the law of attraction, law of rhythm also matches with the law of attraction. The thing that you're attracted to, it's going to be much easier to create a rhythm for that versus something that you're trying to force. So once you understand that subconscious mind, that garden, I want you to begin to create the plan. I want you to begin to go with the new rhythm. And essentially, the big thing I want you to understand from this is that what I can say right now can be considered light. Someone can take it lightly. But like I said, the first thing I said in the beginning is we take our words too lightly. Because the reality is, whatever you're experiencing right now in your life is only a result of the ideas that you didn't know you kept putting your attention on. Like I said, whether you know it or not, your unconscious mind is communicating with people all day, every day. You're saying, oh, he's the right one for me. But unconsciously, you look nervous, you're looking sad, you're calling your friends complaining. Consciously, you're like, yeah, I believe I can do this, man. I want to go after this business. But unconsciously, you're sharing the idea of, oh man, I gotta make sure to handle this tomorrow. Gotta make sure to go to work tomorrow. I gotta make sure to survive. You know what I mean? you know, we don't realize how many lower ideas are stealing our solar energy right here. We don't realize how much our awareness is being split, because with every powerful idea you hold, there's this underlying idea of that survival base that's sharing attention with it. You know, you want to create, I want to actually drop this clothing line, or I want to do this chef idea, but you got to always, energy doesn't lie, absolutely. It's always being split with something survival. And we take it so lightly. Well, I got to think about this stuff. I got to think, what else am I going to do? Do you understand that idea that you just said, that I have to think about this? That's a fucked up idea. That is not a good idea. We treat these ideas very lightly. We treat these ideas that we have, having to survive, having to work, having to pay attention to politics. Everyone is stealing our energy. Everyone's battling media, television, internet, advertisements, family, friends, relationships, work. All of these things are battling us for our solar energy, for our awareness. So the key thing I want to tell you is this: how valuable is your attention? They know how valuable your attention is because they're the ones that are making money off of it every day and competing for it every day. But do you understand how important your attention is? Begin to put your attention and your sunlight and your awareness, energy on that idea in the garden of your mind. And create a rhythm where, instead of trying to oppose any idea in the past that's been holding you down, I want you to begin to create the most beautiful idea that you can think of, and begin to put all of your energy and awareness on that daily, hourly. Learn as much as you can about that idea. Read as much as you can on that idea. Begin to put your focus and life purpose around that idea. Begin to tell all your friends about that idea. Begin to tell all your family about that idea. Begin to watch videos, and begin to do art related to that idea. Everything I'm telling you, if you do this daily, within a year to 2 years, you're going to see your condition completely change. Because before, where you would have been trying to fight a condition, which would have kept that condition in your life, present day, each day you try to fight the condition, guess what? Whether you know it or not, your awareness has been on that one idea today. So the idea won again. It's like, just like a bad relationship. When someone wants to keep you around, they don't care if the argument is good or if the argument's bad. As long as you're there and they have control, that's all that matters. So you think you're pushing this person away because you're arguing with them, but really you're just bringing them closer to you. Versus you say, look, I'm not dealing with this person, period. I'm focusing on this other, I'm focusing on my purpose. I'm focusing on something better, right? Completely different thing. So when it comes to ourselves, this is the magic now that I want you to understand that exists in the mind. If we go back to the Matrix quote, where we said, can you bend the spoon? Where you bent the spoon internally, but externally the spoon was the same. The magic of life exists in the idea that instead of trying to change the external conditions with force, which is going to require you to do a lot of physical shit, how about we change it internally, change the idea that we're focusing on, put our energy, our rhythm toward that idea. And what happens is, whatever it is that you created in the mind, even bending the spoon, if you figure out every reading material, watch books, if you do all these things focused on how to bend things with your mind, you will find some amazing insights, I guarantee. If you try to figure out, how do I cure cancer? If you figure out, how do I try to stop people or push people to live more healthier rather than trying to fight drugs? How do I help people move toward health? By building that knowledge and information, you're planting those seeds, reinforcing, and now you're changing your garden. You're changing your garden by planting and reinforcing new ideas. So, with that being said, anything that we want to manifest and create, right, all the magic that we want to bring into our lives, all the changes that we want to bring into our lives, we must begin to understand that our words are extremely important. The ideas we carry are extremely important. And I want us to become more deliberate with those ideas. So to close this out, I'm going to give one exercise that I want people to do tonight that I guarantee is going to change their life. It's going to change your entire reality if you do this one thing. And it's like 2 or 3 steps. So essentially, number one, I want you to identify what it is that you truly desire as the magician, as the person who, if you could create anything inside of your mind, don't worry about how it's possible out here. I want you to first write down what that is. If you want to start small, you could just pick one area that you want to change, or one area that you want to transform, or one area that you want to create. Something that's been weighing on you, something that you want to finally be. Write that one thing down. Or that more so beautiful place you want to be. Write that down. Number two, I want you to write out almost like a contract to yourself or a phrase to yourself where you basically explain how free you are from whatever that condition is. So you could say, I'm 100% powerful. I have no fear. I see no limits. Or you could say, I'm 100% powerful. I have beautiful relationships. If you had bad relationships, I have beautiful, powerful relationships. If it's money, you write it down, right? I am 100% wealthy. I create abundance everywhere I go. Boom. Right? It could be absurd. The more absurd it is, like the more you exaggerate it, the better, honestly. Because you're gonna fool yourself into this. You're gonna be thinking like, okay, I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna say, you keep saying that shit. Next thing you know, in about a certain period of time, you're gonna be like, oh shit, that's really what I think about myself. You're gonna see that shit happening. But anyways, and number three, I want you to do a ritual tonight. Find a symbol. You can even find it on your phone. Make it your screensaver. You can do anything like that. Find a symbol that for now, it can just, whatever you connect with that represents that new condition that you want. So remember, number one, step one, write the new condition that you want to have. Not the old one, but the new one. Number two, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to that condition, I want you to, what did I say? Oh yeah, essentially write down a quote, write down a statement that this is how my condition is going to be. Boom. And then number three, do a ritual around it. Find a symbol, something that you can pull it could be anything. It could be like a small little, I got all kinds of stuff in here on this side, but anything that reflects that for you. Make that your screensaver, make that the image that you're gonna keep in your mind. And I want you to say, pick a time tonight. It could be during the sunset. Give it a reason during the sunset, or when the moon is up, or when the sun is most bright. Give it a reason for you. And I want you to impress in that moment. This moment is when it's going to happen. And I want you to think about the pain you felt for not having it, the pain you felt going through it. I want you to feel the power that you felt going through it. And once you really get your emotions together around that, I want you to go and do that today. And understand that what you're now doing is magical, because what you're doing now is you're creating the new rhythm. You've planted the new magical seed. This is the magic seed, because it helps you manifest everything you want, and it destroys that which you don't want. So it's a dually powerful seed, right? It does two things at once. So this is big. This is the energy. This is you taking control of your awareness. What you're going to begin to see is through repetition, through continuing to keep these symbols around you. You're going to begin to see that you're building a new rhythm. It's going to be hard as fuck, because other things are going to go against it, but you keep building it. You don't focus on the toughness. You focus on the beauty of where you're going. This right here, that's the magic right there. You said big. Should I just end it right there? Cool. That's the magic right there, though, that I want to tell you. And to close things out, instead of putting our attention on really, what I want to say is I want you to put attention on your subconscious mind. I want you to begin to shine a light on the things that you think people don't see, that they do see when you're communicating. Understand that you're not fooling nobody but yourself. And that until you do the practices that I'm explaining, you'll always be reflecting out in your external experience a shell of what you truly desire. And as a result of that, you'll be stuck. So, what I'm here to say is be very deliberate with an idea and begin to understand that you want your subconscious mind and your conscious mind to be on one accord. We want to eliminate the split within ourselves. And we want to begin to become whole with our purpose, with our idea, and with the new rhythm that we're building. The new rhythm that we're building is going to be built to correlate with the self that we desire to be. And as the rhythm grows and picks up frequency and it begins to match and attract with that which you are trying to do in your real life, you're going to begin to realize that you are a new self because you've now adopted a new spirit, a new rhythm that's now taking force and effect in your internal world. And because of that, that new idea, that new subconscious power is going to begin to reflect externally. And you're going to begin to see the spoon bend in your life. You really are going to see the spoon bend in your life. So, that being said, I want to say one last thing, which is this. Number one, the magic of life exists in that subconscious space, that creative space, not out here. What I've done throughout this show is show you the power of using that space intentionally and deliberately so that you do see out here change. But even more so than that, the one thing I want to tell you is I'm here to remind you of who you are. I'm here to remind you of who you are. Let me tell it to I kind of want to tell it to my IG Live people. I'm here to remind you of who you are. I'm here to remind you of who you are. So, as I said, as I close out, I'm here to remind you of who you are. And who is that? Who are you? Well, let me just tell you this. Whatever you think you are, you're way, like, whatever you think you are is so small, it's so tiny compared to where you really are. Whatever you think you are is a baby, infant, compared to what you really are. And the more that I'm able to remind you of who you really are, right? The more this world becomes more magical for all of us. Because the world is small and confined and more tighter right now because everyone is seeing themselves as smaller and we're all bringing each other down with our identities. Like my identity is bringing you down so I can feel big. Your identity is trying to bring me down so you can feel big. Everyone's bringing each other's identity down. Well, let me give you the flip side. I'm now in the process. I'm here. We're bringing our identities up. That's big. That's big. That's how we grow power. I want you to understand that you're much bigger than whatever you think you are. And while everyone else is trying to bring you down, you're this, you're that, so that you fit into their world. I'm closing this out to say, let me remind you who the fuck you really are. It's time for you to connect back up to who you really are. Because the more that you connect back up to who you really are, right, the more everyone else has to get hip to that rhythm. Bottom line, make the world take a second look, make the world take a double take. We ain't on that small shit no more. Create the new rhythm, the new flow, move away from the fire, move toward the water, move toward the new flow, and know who you really are. Figure that out tonight, man. Do your ritual tonight and reconnect with who you really are. So, with that being said, I'm signing off. This is episode 2 of Inner Alchemy. So much science in these 2 episodes alone. This is very dope. If anybody has any other questions, let me know. Let me see. You got any questions? None at all? Okay. So let me give it 2 minutes and we signing off.
At least what I was told. The barriers stay open.
Oof. This is your awesome as you like the music.
I seem to sink lower, gazing in the rays of the solar. In fact, we made a pact, but now I think it's over. I'm red and white, but he sipped on cage soda. Fuck that's Coca-Cola. Even sport the Olympic
I want y'all to really think.
Think you might be bipolar. Do you think I'm bipolar? Never tried to see about the moment. Still had a drink, yeah, you're now it's all over. Yeah, at least for now it's all over. See you sing blow up. It's good now.
Ability to be unstoppable.
It's good now.
Being unstoppable for power, fight, growth, and be advanced, nothing can go against the mentality of a warrior, soldier, of a master. Nothing can work against me. Only thing for me. My power is infinite. I've never had anxiety, never had no negativity, never had any fear, never had any negativity. My mindset is the golden and protected and covered, elevated. The point that nothing tries to work against me, it makes you stronger. My mind is absolutely amazing. My health and vitality is shining at a level I've never ever seen before. It's like the world I fly through my mind, there's nothing that can move me. But the energy and resourcefulness of the master, everything I want to manifest. Through the power of the word. When you talk about yourself like that, you just go off like that. Try to do it. This is how it has to be. Every word I'm saying right now, anytime there's a weird little thought, weird things or anything, it gets eaten up by what I just said. The power of my mindset is actually amazing. I've never seen dreams. I make intentional. Mentality is so pure, it's sharp. This is my armor. This is my mental armor that I'm showing you right now. See, the problem is they think it's words. See, I know it's magic. That's the problem. They think I'm saying words. They think I'm saying inspiration. I'm really a warrior right now. Showing you my mental message. And why there is no idea that can make me feel small or take me down. Never feel negative. Ask anybody online. Lately, like, I don't know, like, it's been months and months and months. And I'm like, I still haven't had a bad negative day. It's just magic. I'm giving you the chance to get the mind. Make sure your mind is armored up. Plant those fucking killer plants. This mind is just living beautiful, absolutely vivacious. Creativity and power is pouring inside of it. Manifesting everything daily. One of the greatest ever. All right, family. With that, I hope you learned a lot. This is the magic. Peace out.